titled Boosting the Uptake of Research Organization Registry, IDs in Malawi, has been organized by IFEL jointly with Marico. So today we are having a presenter, Milka, who will be taking us through as to how the institutions can create the accounts, and she will also shed more light as to why it is important for institutions in Malawi to have the ROR IDs. So let me take this opportunity again to thank everyone who's just joined this Zoom meeting. This is no mean thing for our country, and I'm quite sure it will help us in as far as research visibility is concerned. Not only that, I'm also quite sure to say by making our research visible, it might also help us in attracting funders towards our research and development. Not only that, this might also help us in as far as the university rankings are concerned. Not only that, but also the world to appreciate the research emanating from the country Malawi. Thank you very much. Over to you, Milka. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining. I will first share my screen. I don't have a presentation because there is no need. I will guide you through the process of registration and updating records, and I will show you a few places where you can see how ROR works in practice. And we will record this for the others to have this as a resource. First of all, I can tell that AFL created this guide, a very short one. It was reviewed by ROR, people who work for ROR, which is a non-profit organization, and actually a community-led project. And it's a very short guide. It's based on the instructions provided on the website of ROR, but also it's based on our own experience because we have some experience with registering RORs in our countries in different contexts, and we have some experience about the common issues that usually occur during those registrations, and I'll try to answer those questions during the presentation to explain where those tricky moments happen. So it's a very short guide with a few screenshots that explain the process. And now we are running a campaign. We are trying to encourage library consortia in partner countries to improve the uptake of ROR in their communities, first of all among their consortia members, but then also among other institutions in the country. ROR is very, very important. As Blessing said, it's very important for research assessment and for tracking of research outputs, because if you provide a ROR when submitting, for example, a research paper to a journal, or if a database takes into account ROR, then it's easier to track. Institutions change their names. Sometimes in multilingual contexts, they use different versions of the name. And it's just like with personal names, it's difficult to track it if you just do the lexical search relying on the text. And that's why it's important to have a sort of persistent identifier for an organization. And ROR is this, it's a persistent identifier. There is a website. So it's, if I type just to show you how this record looks like, just for any for a random institution, and run a search. For example, this is an institute. For example, it's a museum, and this is how the records look like. This is the ROR. It's a persistent identifier. It's in the form of a URL, just like a DOI or ORCID. And it's assigned to institutions in various databases. So it's registered here. This is the registry, and this registry communicates with other databases, and this ROR in a database gets resolved, and I will show this in a minute. And this is the basic information about the institution, different types, different versions of names. Some names are, for example, the old names, the outdated ones. Some names are just parallel names in a different language or a different variant, or I don't know, acronym. And there is the information about geographical information, the website, and if there are other identifiers, they are all linked here. And the full record is available in JSON. It usually contains more than what is displayed in this brief record. And how it looks in practice, for example, if I go to Zenodo, and this is a resource that is uploaded by Eiffel, and when uploading it, we assigned ROR, and I'll show this also in a minute. We assigned ROR to our affiliation. There is the sign ROR that it's actually linked to the registry. If we click here, we get redirected to the registry where we can find all the information about the institution. And this is like the institution is identified uniquely, it's identified unambiguously, so everyone knows which institution is this, because there is this ROR. And I can, for example, when I'm uploading content to Zenodo, I can add ROR to the record. And I guess I'm logged in, so I'll just refresh this. So for example, if I'm uploading something, let's imagine I'm making a new upload here when I want to add creators. So I can choose to add an organization, and then I can add an identifier ROR here if I know it, but I can also search for an institution. And this Zenodo, the repository is connected with ROR, and it will search automatically those records. And here on the right, this is the information source ROR. So sometimes source is something else, a different database, but if source is ROR, it says it's preferred. So you are like encouraged to use it. And you can add, for example, here I found Eiffel, and I can add, just click, and ROR will be automatically ended. Similar, like for example, when you're searching for a person, and it's ORCID search, and also you can search the affiliation of a person, then also ROR is searched. So it's very well integrated with different databases, different research systems. For example, if you have a national CRIS system, current research information system, you can integrate ROR in the system, and it really helps because what is processed, what is like included in the database is not just, a random string of letters, which the affiliation is if you type it like this without an identifier, but it's actually this identifier, and it's very well connected. Also, many institutions, an increasing number of institutions, they are now publishers. They are now using ROR when registering new papers, research papers, and they are requiring authors to provide ROR. So when they're, for example, submitting metadata to Crossref, they already include ROR, which makes it easier for databases like I don't know, Scopus Web of Science or any other database to correctly link this new output to the existing outputs that are in the database, and it enables an easier tracking of research outputs. So there are many benefits of ROR. In the past, there were several attempts to establish a registry that will be widely used, and GRID was one of them, and it wasn't really, it's a bit outdated, it's discontinued. But all the records from Grid, they are now integrated in ROR. And it's also, as you can see here with other identifiers, it's really well connected to other systems. And for example, Wikidata, it automatically adds, if an institution is registered in ROR and has a record in Wikidata, its ROR will be automatically added to Wikidata but by ROR. So you don't have to think about it. If you have provided this Wikidata record, and this is how it looks like. So Wikidata is important because it's free, it's open, it offers open data, and other systems rely on it. So this ROR is really well integrated, and it should be used. And it's community led, so it doesn't depend, for example, on the plans of an individual company. Uh, Irina has mentioned in an informal chat before that the procedure takes some time. This is because it's community led, and I will explain the process later so that you know that you should be like a bit patient when when you're waiting for your record to be accepted. In order to get registered into ROR, you need to meet some requirements. So it's not like that anybody can register. So the registration needs to be meaningful, and it's explained in briefly in our guide, and it's also explained in the ROR guide. Basically, they are not accepting departments of universities, but the university should register, and departments are not acceptable. And if you try to register a department of a university or similar unit, this attempt will be like rejected. They will respond and say that it won't be accepted in the registry. But for example, if you have a center, a lab within a university, a research institute, in most cases, those are accepted. Libraries can register. Private companies can also register, but they need to prove that they are connected to doing some research. In our case, it's quite clear. Your consortium members can register. If they are departments, then the parent institution, the university, will register. So if you're within the scope, if you are acceptable as an institution, you are not a department, then the first thing you should do is to search the registry, because it's very possible, if you were registered with GRID or any other registry that is working with ROR, that your record might be already there, even though you haven't registered. And also, other people can register you. It's not, if as long as the information is correct, uh, anybody can submit a registration request. So it's very important to check whether an organization is there, and it's highly recommended to try different names. So it doesn't really suffice to type just one variant of the name. So you should check, for example, acronyms and various variants. If you don't find an institution, then you should register. But if you find, you should review the record, and I will now show how to update the record if it's already there. And let's imagine that there is a need to correct something with my institute in Serbia where I work.
And maybe while Milica is typing, just a note, libraries don't need to register if they are part of a university. Only a national library, which is an independent institution, needs to register. So if your unit, even if your research center is a part of a large university and is not an independent entity, you don't need to register that. Only a legal entity, only a formal organization with director, bank account, etc., registers. And it should also be aligned with your affiliation policies. So, for example, if your university is policy is that when you publish a journal article, you should mention your university, then faculty, then I don't know, school or etc. Then also like follow that. What's that highest level of an institution that needs to be mentioned in a paper and then register it, because ROR is connected to scholarly activities, to publications. Apologies for interrupting you, Milica.
Yes, but basically, they even if a faculty is a legal entity, they wouldn't accept it.
But there are no such cases in Malawi. So let's
Yeah, yeah,
let not confuse people, because
yeah.
this is from the country where every faculty, every school, every library is a separate
It's a separate.
entity. But that's a very unusual setup. In most countries, a structure is very hierarchical. So if you are a part of an institution, then this is that institution that needs to be registered. Thank you.
Yeah. So here is the record of my institute, and you see that there are different names, and we are using multiple alphabets. So there is a name also in the Cyrillic alphabet, and the name in English, and with an acronym, without an acronym, etc. And let's imagine that I need to change something just to show you the process. So here is a relationship. There is a partner organization, and this is the record, the full record with all the identifiers, the website, etc. And if I want to make a change, I can go here to suggest a change. So if you want to do an update, you should go to the record, find the record, review the record, and then from the record suggest change. And there will be a request form. This is a Google form, basically, that explains what we have just explained. So they also explain the criteria for inclusion, provide some links that you can go and read, and the information about the workflow, where you can track what I mentioned previously. And here you have just the fields in several steps that you need to fill out. So you need to provide your email, and I will provide one. Then you should check whether you agree to be contacted by ROR. So if they need any additional information, they might contact you. And it makes sense to say yes, because they might really need some information. And if you are probably willing, as long as you are registering something and you provide your name and my organizational my organizational affiliation. So I could put like Eiffel as well, because I'm providing sufficient information that they can contact me. I can also put my other affiliation. And my role, I'm librarian at that institution, but you can add any role. It's not like it's not limiting. It doesn't depend on your role whether this will be accepted or not. And this is a very important step. You should explain what you're requesting, because there's a couple of types of requests. You can add a new organization. We will show this later. You can modify the information in existing record. That's what I'm doing. Deprecate an existing ROR record. It means if a record is not valid anymore, for example, the institution doesn't exist, then you want to say this to ROR, that this should be like withdrawn. Merge two or more records. So if there are duplicates, and split if, for example, institution was divided into two or more entities, and now there is a need to split. But those cases are usually quite rare. So we will just explain those, adding a new organization and modifying the information about an existing record. And then there is a next step. And in the next step, I need to provide the name of the organization associated with the record. This is a mandatory field. All the mandatory fields are marked with an asterisk. And I will provide the name of my institution. And I will need the ROR record of this institution also. I will copy it from here. And then I will mark the parts of the name of the record that need to be changed. So I don't know, say other names, and I will describe what needs to be changed, explain why I want to change it. And you should be very clear with this. For example, I can say I would not like to add a new name variant, or I would like to, I don't know, we change the name and we want to update this. Or if, for example, when I did this change, updated the record last time, I wanted to change the organizational website, and you can check multiple items. So you can submit multiple changes at the same time, or for example, the organizational types and even something else. And then you described here what you want to do, and I can, for example, add another name variant. I will just not type for the sake of time, but I will just write the generic text here to go to the next step. So you will understand and go to the next step. And in the next step, I can add any additional information that I need, that I would like ROR to know, any details. And then I can submit. And what is recommended is to send a copy. So you can get a copy of the form and have it for your record. So, for example, if you're reporting or if you want to refer to something to check what you submitted, you can. It's always recommended to get a copy of the record, and then I can submit. I won't submit this because I don't really need to make any changes to this specific record. So it's very easy and simple. If I want to add a new record, then the procedure is quite similar, and it's explained here in this guide. So the steps, this is a correcting, and then in step 3, there is an explanation how to do this and how to access this ROR form. And here you have this, what we explained, record, the explanation of the criteria that they are taking into account. And here is a button, suggest an addition or update to ROR, where you can access this same form. So the same form, it looks the same. The fields are the same, and it's basically on the first page here that you decide what you want to change. It's very important just not to be confused. If I want to submit a new record, so let's imagine that I now want to submit a completely different organization to ROR, another institute. I will just keep this data here, and I will say here that I want to add a new record. And then I will go to the next step, and what I get here is it's the same form, but it's a different question. And it prompts me to check once again whether the organization is in the scope and whether it already has. Actually, I need to confirm that it doesn't have a ROR record, an existing ROR record. And then I say, yes, it's in the scope, and go to the next step. And in the next step, I need to confirm that it doesn't have a ROR. And then the steps are very similar. I need to add the organization's name, and I will add here, I found an institute that doesn't have a ROR record in my country, and I will add the name. I will add the name in English, but there will be a name in other language as well. You will see this. And we'll correct this. Organization website. It has a website. and I will add this. And this should be an official website. Then the domain. So it is usually this domain from the URL of the website, but some organizations might be using different domains. They can have multiple domains. It happens. It's rare, but it happens. So in such case, you just need to add a primary domain. And in this case, it's very easy. And then what is important is to add DOIs, and it's a mandatory step to add DOIs or URLs of their publications. This step is very important because ROR checks whether it appears as an affiliation in research papers and how it appears. And I'll try now to go to the institutional repository and try to find some papers there. So in this step, you will have to provide this additional information. And I'll find a couple of papers. I usually put 3. You can put more. And you find papers that have a DOI. You can put a URL, but it's much better if you put a DOI. Here I have a DOI. The institutional repository is usually a good place to search for those papers because that's the easiest way to identify or to find what they have published. So these don't have a DOI. Let me find a couple of others that have a DOI. This one doesn't have it either. Let's filter it a bit by article. So here I found one that has a DOI. Okay, I'll just put 2 this time, and ROR people will check this additionally if there is a need to check. They will check this, and I will show you later how they're doing this. So I added some DOIs to check, and then you need to check some fields here to say why they need a ROR, what will they be using it for, and usually it's like most these things to identify affiliation for research publications in databases. We explain this to identify affiliations for data sets if they're depositing data sets, to acknowledge research funders, to acknowledge a research facility. So here it's not to acknowledge research funders because they are not really funding research, but yes, to acknowledge a research facility and to be integrated in a scholarly publishing system. That's usually the case. And here there is the type of organization. So if it's a university, it's usually education. They can be healthcare institutions. If it's a case of research institutes or labs, they're usually facilities. So this is the type that is recommended for this organization. And then if an organization has a Wikipedia page, you can edit. I've checked. This one doesn't have. It's recommended to add this information as well. And Wikidata is this institution doesn't have Wikidata, so Wikidata is here. You can go and check Wikidata. I've already checked. They don't have. And you can also check the other registries whether they are registered there. You go and search for those organizations. And I've checked that they don't really have anything. In case they are using an acronym, it's highly recommended to add it, but it's not really recommended to use an acronym as the main name of the record. Because sometimes there are similar acronyms, it's usually recommended to use an official name. It could be like in English or in the native languages, if in case English is not a native language of an organization. And this institution does have an acronym. I will just copy it here. And I can also add different, in the next step, other variations of the organization name. For example, I could add here in Serbian because this is their official name, and then we are using yet another alphabet. I could add in that alphabet, or if they have like an extended name in English. And it's always recommended if you're using, it's not relevant for you, but if different languages are used, it's recommended to add the ISO code of the language behind this. Then in the next step, if there are other organizations that are related to this one that we are registering, it's also very important. This field is not mandatory because not all organizations have related organizations, but if there is such an organization, do add this information. For example, if there is a parent organization, that add the role of this find this organization, add its ROR, and then in the brackets indicate its parent organization or this is the child organization. This one doesn't really have any of those, but if there is such an organization, add it here. And then the city where the organization is located, so we'll add this, and the country. If you know the time, the year when the organization was established, it's also very good to add it, but this field is not mandatory. And you check everything that you've added here to this form and go to the next step. In the next step, you just need to, you can add any additional information that might be relevant, and then you check here, it's recommended, send me a copy and submit. I won't submit now, but you submit, you get a copy, and you get an automatic confirmation email saying that the record has been submitted. And a couple of minutes later, up to half an hour, you will get an email saying that your submission has been registered, and there will be a link provided in this email where you can always go to track the status of your record. And you can always click on that link and go to the record and see what's going on with it, with this provisional record. I will now show you how ROR tracks and where actually you go when you need to track. So this is here on GitHub, and this is the GitHub. It's like platform that is publicly available. This whole set is publicly available, and if you go here to issues, you will see what's going on in real time. So, for example, 26 minutes ago, somebody from Azerbaijan submitted, or from Turkey, or from other countries. And it's like you can see what's going on. And the first status that an organization that has been just submitted has is triage needed. So this is how a new record looks like, and your record look like this. So your submission is registered. All the pieces of information that you have provided are here. They are available, and a bot manages this, and the bot indicates that triage is needed. This is a new record. Then after some time, for example, this is a request, another request that has been like processed, and those steps are indicated here, and there is an update what's going on with this record. And here we have, you can filter by open. So it's an issue, it's an open issue. So you can, and you can also check, for example, for a country. So if I add here Malawi, you can see that, for example, there is an open record from the last month from the National Library Service of Malawi, and it's still waiting, it's still pending. Nothing has happened. Actually it happened, but this is a bot. So triage needed, then the bot processed this record, and then it's awaiting some human check. And if we want to see the organizations from Malawi that have already been registered, I can just replace open with closed. So we can see the organizations from Malawi that have already been registered, and the new record has been created. So for example, here you can see the whole process. Somebody submitted, then the triage was done. And this is what happens with your RORs, with your DOIs. So you provide DOIs, and they usually check additional DOIs just to confirm that the affiliation is used. And they say, yes, we do confirm it's used. And then there are next steps, and this is a human check that says that this is justified to this organization, and then they say that it will be published in this and that release, and ROR is assigned, and then the case is closed. This is how it looks like. So let's go back to those open ones. You can, if, for example, you have submitted this record, you can always react. So if you log in, register and log in to GitHub, and anybody can register and log in, you can add a comment here. So for example, if something is unclear, if additional information is needed, or you want to just expedite the process a bit, if it's a sort it seems delayed to you, you can go to GitHub and you just follow the link that has been provided, and you can add the comment. You need to be patient. It usually takes up to a month because releases are released, new releases of the registry are updated monthly. And you need to wait up for about a month. But sometimes it might be longer. So you need to be patient, and you can, it's recommended to track this record and the link and see what's going on with your record. If it looks like too slow, for example, it's been waiting like this for more than a month, then you would probably react. That's the explanation of the process. So now we can go to questions if you have any, or if you need something to be explained in greater detail.